Imagine this. The ocean is no longer just water. It is a kingdom of coral and starfire, where storms tear holes between worlds, and bioluminescent creatures guard ancient truths. A mortal scientist, bound to reason, is dragged into this abyss. An immortal champion, scarred by war, is forced to guide her back. But between them grows a bond that both kingdoms have sworn must never exist. This is not a tale of chance encounters, but of fates colliding. Salt against air, mortal against fey, love against doom. If you're ready to feel every heartbeat, every betrayal, every impossible kiss, hit subscribe and let the story begin. The current hurled Alara into a cathedral of living reef. Walls glowed like veins of molten glass. Voices thrummed through the water, and the scent of salt was sharp, metallic, alive. She gasped, yet no bubbles rose. Her lungs burned with liquid fire. This can't be real. I should be drowning. Her scientist's mind rebelled. But the sea had chosen her lungs as vessels, and each breath tasted like flame. Fear made her heart pound faster than the tides. Shadows took shape, fey with luminous skin, their eyes galaxies locked inside. They circled her like predators testing prey. Whispers spread through the chamber. A human? Here? At the coral throne sat a queen carved from reef, voice ringing like a struck bell. Beside her stood Kalen, a warrior clad in jagged shells, scars mapping his chest like battlefields. His silver gaze pinned Alara in place. "The mortal's fate is not yours," the queen declared. "It is the champion's alone." A hush fell like a tide receding, leaving danger behind. Alara's pulse hammered. Execution? Enslavement? Or something stranger still? And why did Kalen stare at her as if he recognized a secret written on her skin? The court erupted in hunger and fury. Some demanded blood to cleanse the trespass. Others wanted her bound as a specimen, dissected like the creatures she once studied. The queen silenced them with one raised hand. "You will return her to the surface," she commanded. "If you can." Her words dripped with cruel amusement, as if knowing the journey itself might consume them both. Kalen's voice was low, a blade ground on stone. "You chain me to a curse. I do not guard mortals. I bury them." His contempt struck harder than any weapon. Alara tried to speak, but her throat faltered. "Surface? They want me gone. But why do I feel the sea already inside me?" Above them, bioluminescent fish circled, identical to those she had catalogued in her research. Kalen approached, towering like storm-made flesh. "Stay close, or you will not see another dawn." Warning or promise, she could not tell. As they stepped into the dark beyond the coral gates, shadows stirred. Predators slithered at the edges, waiting. But the true danger pulsed not in the water. It burned in Kalen's gaze. They descended into a trench lined with leviathan skeletons. Spines arched like cathedrals. Ribs formed corridors of the dead. The water chilled to steel. Every breath carried the copper tang of decay. Alara's whisper trembled. How many died here? Her voice cracked against the silence of ancient bones. The question tasted of fear and of awe she would never admit aloud. "Enough to remind us," Kalen muttered, scars catching faint light, "that gods still walk these waters." His words carved truth deeper than the trench itself. The bones groaned, and from them rose wraiths, drowned soldiers with hollow eyes. Their moans cut through the current. Kalen's blade of coral shards gleamed as he stepped forward. "Stay behind me," he ordered. But Alara's hands found a shard of algae, its glow alive. Pressing it together, she released a burst of light that scattered shadows long enough for his strike. Their gazes collided, warrior and scientist, myth and reason. In survival, they became one, and yet the question lingered. Why had her touch summoned the sea's light at all? The last wraith dissolved, but Kalen staggered. Blood spiraled crimson into the water, his chest torn open by spectral claws. He dropped to one knee, teeth gritted. Alara's instincts surged louder than fear. "Hold still. I can help." She tore kelp from the trench wall, crushing it with salt and coral dust until it formed a paste. Her palms pressed to his wound. Pain seared through him. Then the water shimmered. Her hands glowed, weaving golden filaments that knit his flesh. The sea itself answered her touch. Kalen's eyes widened. "What are you?" His voice was more awe than threat. though both sharpened the air between them. Ilara trembled. No, I don't have magic. Only science. Only knowledge. Her world tilted. Everything she knew betrayed her. He exhaled, gaze softened by something unspoken. Perhaps knowledge is only another word for power. And for the first time, he looked at her not as prey, but as something far more dangerous. They drifted into a cavern where pools lay like obsidian glass. Each surface shimmered not with present reflections, but with memories long buried. The air, if it could be called air, trembled with whispers. Ilara fell to her knees beside a mirror. The water lit, revealing a shipwreck sinking, a leather journal tumbling through the depths, and a man's face eerily similar to hers. That's not me. Who is he? Kaelin's own pool erupted with screams of battle. A woman's voice echoed, shattering him. His fist clenched until blood welled. The sea shows what we most fear to face. From the central mirror, a prophecy flowed in glowing script. When salt meets air, the eternal tide shall break. The cavern hummed, each word vibrating through bone and blood. Ilara's chest constricted. Why does this place know me? Why do I feel tied to a story older than I am? Her voice cracked under the weight of unseen truth. Kaelin turned away, jaw tight. Leave it buried. Some destinies drown those who touch them. Yet as the mirrors rippled again, they showed the two of them, standing together in a sea of flame. They swam through pillars of shattered marble, a drowned city glowing with ghostly algae. Statues leaned half-buried in sand, their eyes eroded but watching still. The silence here was suffocating, as though the ruins themselves mourned. Ilara brushed her fingers over an inscription etched in stone. The letters were human, old, brittle, but clear. This is my language. The revelation sent a shiver down her spine. Kaelin's jaw tightened. A mortal walked here once long ago. He brought chaos. He brought ruin. His voice was bitter, but not empty of grief. Her hand hovered over a broken mural. A man painted beside the Fey Queen. His eyes, sharp, familiar, like a reflection half-remembered. She swallowed hard. What if I know him? Kaelin's gaze pierced her. If his blood flows in your veins, then you carry his curse. The accusation was knife-sharp. Ilara recoiled, yet a strange guilt throbbed in her chest. The ruins trembled as if awakened by her presence. Stones cracked, releasing a stream of glowing fish, a sign or a warning. Kaelin drew his blade. We should not linger. The sea remembers. At the border of the ruins, another figure awaited. Lyris, a young Fey warrior with eyes like polished obsidian, stepped forward. His voice dripped with venom. The champion grows weak. He hides behind mortals now. Kaelin's blade twitched, but he held steady. Ilara felt the rift between them, as sharp as the reef itself. Rivalry and pride tangled in the water like barbed nets. Lyris circled her, gaze filled with disdain. This human reeks of prophecy. Why risk the realm for fragile lungs and foolish hope? Ilara's breath caught. She wanted to fight, but words failed. Kaelin snapped. She is under my protection. His voice cracked like thunder, but beneath the anger was something else. Possession, perhaps even fear of losing her. Lyris smiled, slow and cruel. Then I will take her from you. And when the tide breaks, the court will know who its true champion is. His challenge rippled with dark promise. As Lyris vanished into shadows, Ilara whispered, He wants you broken. He wants me destroyed. Why? Kaelin's silence was heavier than the ocean. They entered a trench so dark even Kaelin's armor vanished in the void. The water was ice against Ilara's skin, each breath sharp with fear. Then came the sound, a pulse, steady as a drum. Something hunted them. The creature struck like lightning, a maw of teeth, a serpent of endless coils. Kaelin fought with brutal precision, but the monster coiled tighter, dragging them both into darkness. Ilara reached for him, pressed her palm to his chest. The glow burst forth again, blinding the beast. For one suspended moment, they were wrapped in light, bodies pressed close. Kaelin's breath brushed her ear, ragged, raw. You should not risk yourself for me. His words trembled, not with anger, but with something far more dangerous. Her lips brushed his before she realized. It was not a kiss born of choice, but of need, survival, desperation. Yet it set fire through both their veins. When the beast recoiled, Kaelin tore it apart with one final strike. Silence fell heavy. Between them lingered something neither dared name. Was it a mistake? Or fate? They emerged into a cavern hung with glowing tendrils of kelp, each one humming like a harp string. At the center drifted Nerith, the oracle, eyes blind, yet seeing more than sight could hold. Her voice was soft as current, yet struck like a blade. You bring the mortal here? Fool. Do you not know her blood sings louder than storms? Kaelin stiffened, anger and fear entwined. Elara stepped forward, defiant. I'm no weapon. I'm no prophecy. I'm just me. Yet even she doubted the words, for the sea pulsed at her every breath. Nerith's smile was brittle. You will choose. Salvation or ruin. You are the key, child of air and tide. Her prophecy filled the cavern, echoing through bone. Kaelin gripped his blade. You twist truth, Oracle. You always have. His hatred burned, but his eyes betrayed doubt. Elara's heart hammered. If I'm the key, then what do I unlock? The silence that followed chilled her deeper than the abyss. The sea trembled long before the beast arrived. A shadow stretched across the trench, vast and terrible. The Leviathan rose, 3 heads thrashing, each current bending to its rage. Kaelin's blade gleamed, but even his scars paled before the monster's size. Stay behind me, he ordered. Yet Elara could feel the pull of the creature, the rhythm of its bioluminescence. She recalled patterns she had studied on the surface, how certain frequencies stunned predators. I can't fight, but maybe I can confuse it. Her hands shook as she sang a low note. The Leviathan writhed, its glow faltering, coils staggering. Kaelin seized the moment, driving his blade deep into its throat. The water erupted in crimson and starlight. For one breathless instant, silence held. Then Kaelin looked at her differently, not as burden, but as equal, as ally. His words came rough, reluctant. You saved us both. Elara trembled, torn between pride and fear. But if I can command even a Leviathan, what am I becoming? The waters shifted as they entered a cavern that pulsed with heat, unlike any other place beneath the sea. At its heart floated a crystalline core, burning with blue and gold flame, the heart of starfire. Every current bent toward it, every coral sang in harmony with its beat. Elara felt it in her bones, like the sea itself was breathing through her. Kaelin's voice was reverent and bitter all at once. This is what sustains us. The crystal binds the tides, shields our realm, and silences the storms. If it breaks, the court dies with it. His gaze cut to her, silver and sharp, and yet your presence weakens it. Elara stepped closer, the glow reflecting in her eyes, her heartbeat matching its rhythm. It's calling to me, she whispered, her voice trembling with awe. Like it recognizes me. The words tasted like treason. Kaelin seized her wrist, pulling her back. Do not listen. The heart deceives. It has always demanded blood to burn this bright. His scars, lit by the crystal, looked like old offerings carved into flesh. Elara's chest tightened. If this was true, then every moment she lingered was killing the Ocean Kingdom. What if I was never meant to leave? What if I'm the fracture, the storm they feared? The crystal flared, almost in answer, flooding the cavern with light so fierce it blinded them both, and deep in its core, she saw her reflection, but not alone. Beside her stood Kaelin, their hands entwined, as the sea around them turned to fire. The water grew heavy, oppressive, as though carrying the taste of ash. From the shadows emerged Lyris, eyes glowing with hatred and triumph. Behind him surged an army of twisted shapes, creatures bent by abyssal magic. You see? He sneered. The mortal weakens your world, but I have found strength. Kaelin stepped forward, blade raised. You consort with the abysmal king. You've doomed yourself. But Lyris only laughed, a sound like broken shells grinding together. His gaze darted to Elara. No, I've found freedom, and she is the key to unmaking you all. Alara's throat went dry as the corrupted tide pressed against her. Why me? Why am I always the weapon in someone else's hand? Her voice cracked, equal parts fury and despair. She hated the prophecy wrapping around her like chains. Lyris circled her, dark currents swirling in his wake. Because you carry the blood of the first trespasser, the man who betrayed us. His legacy burns in your veins. You will finish what he began. His smile was cruel, but his words struck like truth. Kaelin lunged, striking against his rival. Their blades collided in thunderous waves, shaking the coral walls. Each strike was fueled not by duty alone, but by centuries of envy and loss. Alara stood caught between them, her heart breaking with every clash. And then, in the chaos, shadows coiled around her wrists, dragging her down. Lyriss's voice echoed like poison. The abysmal king awaits, and through you, the sea shall drown in fire. Dragged into the deepest chasm, Alara felt the water change, heavier, thicker, as if the abyss itself devoured light. Chains of living kelp bound her, pulsing with dark energy. Before her rose the abysmal king, a figure vast and crowned with teeth and coral thorns, his voice vibrating through her bones. "Mortal child of air and tide," he rumbled. "You are the fracture. Through you, I will shatter the heart of Starfire. Through you, the seas will be mine again." His words pressed against her skin like knives. Alara shook her head, though her lungs burned. "I am not your weapon. I am not anyone's prophecy." But her voice quivered, betraying her fear. Memories of her father's face in the mirrors returned. Had he begun this curse? Kaelin's arrival was a storm breaking chains. He tore through Lyriss's guard, his blade slicing shadow and flesh alike. "You will not touch her!" His fury was fire underwater, raw and consuming. The cavern quaked as rivalries collided. Kaelin against Lyris, Fae against abyssal spawn, truth against deception. And at the center, Alara against herself, her hands burning with light she couldn't control. The abysmal king's laughter filled the trench. "You cannot fight destiny, child. You are the tide that breaks." And with that, the heart of Starfire pulsed in the distance, cracks beginning to spread across its surface. The battlefield became chaos. Kaelin and Lyris clashing with the fury of storms, the oracle's voice whispering truths from afar, abyssal armies tearing through coral walls. And in the midst of it, the crystal cried out, fissures glowing hotter with every heartbeat. Alara felt it pulling her. She knew with terrible clarity that only she could mend it, but only with a cost. Her voice shook as she screamed to Kaelin, "If I give it my life, the sea will hold, but I'll never breathe the surface again." Kaelin staggered, blood running dark into the water. He reached for her, eyes fierce. "I won't let you be consumed. If sacrifice is demanded, then let it be mine." His hands trembled, but his resolve was iron. Tears blurred her vision. "No, I won't lose you. Not when I finally found something worth fighting for." She pressed her forehead to his, her lips trembling against his. The kiss was fire and salt, a vow and a goodbye. Together, they pressed their hands to the heart. Science and magic, mortal and fae, wound into a single pulse of light. Energy tore through them, searing, breaking, remaking. Kaelin's body shuddered as his essence poured into the crystal. The fissures closed, the heart blazed, and the abyssal armies screamed as they were ripped apart. But when the light faded, Kaelin collapsed. His immortal glow dimmed, replaced by something fragile, something mortal. The battlefield lay silent, ruins glowing with the soft aftershocks of victory. The abysmal king had been shattered, his armies scattered into ash. But Alara's gaze was fixed only on Kaelin, pale and gasping, no longer bound by immortality. She cradled him in her arms, whispering through tears, "You gave up eternity. For me. For us." Her voice cracked, breaking with a grief that tasted like salt water and blood. His hand brushed her cheek, weak but certain. "I would trade endless oceans for one lifetime with you." His words were softer than waves, yet they drowned her completely. The Fae court gathered around, awed and broken. The oracle bowed her head. The tide is rewritten. The champion is no more. But perhaps something greater rises. The prophecy was no longer curse, but choice. Alara stood, the heart glowing in her shadow. The sea whispered at her skin, begging her to stay, to reign, to belong. Yet above, she felt the tug of air, of home, of her unfinished life. She kissed Kaelin once more, a vow unspoken, and raised her eyes to the waters above. Would she choose the surface, or the sea. For the first time, destiny was hers to command, and the ocean itself bowed to her answer.